I'm glad you're with us on the Clank Howard Show, where it's about you and your wallet. I want you to learn ideas from me so that you can keep more of what you make. Coming up in just 20 minutes in today's Clarkrageous Moment, a nasty scam involving Social Security. I'm going to tell you what you need to know. If you have older relatives or friends, you got to make sure they know about a percolating scam ripping people's money right out of their hands. And later this hour, you thought about renting somebody's place instead of a hotel room when you go somewhere? Maybe you've thought about having a rental property, renting on Airbnb or VRBO. I have a special new alert for you that is coming up in just 30 minutes. You want more information for your wallet? We serve you 24 hours a day at clark.com, CLARK.com. And you have a question for me, clark.com/ask. And a little note for you. Recently, I talked on the show about the pivot by McDonald's to make their Happy Meals something that would not be a flashpoint for people who hate McDonald's, and eliminating French fries from the Happy Meal, and eliminating soft drinks as an option on the Happy Meal for the kids, and that McDonald's, instead of a toy, was offering kids a free fitness tracker. And it was not a toy, it was an actual real fitness tracker. Well, now 29 million of them have been recalled by McDonald's because they are causing rashes and burns. It's an official recall notice posted with the Consumer Product Safety Commission. And it is an unfortunate thing because it's backfiring on McDonald's that I thought was doing a very, very nice thing. If you got your kid one of these fitness trackers after I got you interested in them, I apologize if it caused a rash for your child or blisters or anything like that. So, gosh, even when you try to do the right thing, it can come out wrong, right? Now, this is the wrong thing. Wrong, and we're doing this to ourselves. There was a survey done by a market research firm that found that nearly 1 in 4 Americans say, hey, I'll pay for online banking, mobile banking, where you have the apps on your phone for your credit union or bank or whatever. Now, the scam of this is you're saving your bank a fortune when you do mobile deposits where you take the picture of the check and you deposit your check electronically. You're doing the work for the bank, saving them so much money. When you do balance inquiries, instead of calling in on their phone system and do it, you're saving the bank money. And now Wall Street Journal reports that some of the biggest banks are like saying, hey, wait a minute. We got people using these apps now. Maybe we should charge them. So don't be surprised, as if you've ever heard me explain this, that banks conspire to raise prices and come up with new fees that are imposed on you in August and December. August, because people are really busy with end of summer stuff. If they have kids going back to school, they don't read the notices in their bank statements. And so the bank rips you off by sending you one of those legalese notices in a statement telling you they're charging you all these new fees on your account. And it's funny, they'll say something like important notice from your bank. And then it'll be all this mice type that accordions out or whatever. The other month they do that is December. That would probably be the soonest that banks would slip in new fees for using their mobile apps. It's funny how banks remain just about the most unpopular institutions in the United States. That they rank below many organizations you would expect to rank low. The banks just have never recovered from the damage to their reputations from all the dirty stuff they were doing, crooked things they were doing last decade. and then the massive bailouts you and I had to give them. And banks just again and again try to gift us with things like crazy junk fees. Maybe, just maybe, making noise about it will make a difference. And we've got something to learn from younger people. One of the things I saw in a Wall Street Journal item is that people under 35 are twice as likely as people over 35 to say when a bank mistreats them, they fire the bank. They don't say they're going to fire the bank. They actually do it. Learn from them. Learn from them. When a bank treats you like trash, when a bank shows contempt for you, kick them to the curb. I have no opinion about the banks at all. Brianna is with us on the Clank Howard Show. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you. You want to talk about a real estate agent, is that right?
Yes.
What happened?
Sure. So I was renting an apartment with my boyfriend, and we sent the real estate agent via email some sensitive documents that had our social security numbers on them, driver's license, pretty basic information like that, but still sensitive, that we originally did not want to send via email. It kind of came to my attention later on, after we had signed the lease and everything, that the real estate agent had emailed another real estate agent with my email CC'd and my boyfriend's email CC'd, and it actually occurred, or came to my attention that it was the wrong email address for him. So the sensitive information went to an incorrect email address. The real estate agent has been, wonderful about helping us with the process, but we just didn't know what steps we needed to take next to make sure that our information is secure.
So there's only one thing that you can do under the law that will make any meaningful difference with things like your social security number and other personal key information leaked out there.
Okay.
And that is to do something called a credit freeze.
Okay.
Credit freeze will require for you and your boyfriend about 15 minutes of time, and depending on the state, from no fee to as much as $30 total to set in place. And what it does is, let me step back one step. I should step back. The individual who received the information may be someone who would never do anything bad with it. Most people are decent people. So don't just assume because it went to a wrong email address that somebody is going to do something bad with it. But in the event that they did, the credit freeze is the only intelligent strategy to take. Because what it does is it locks your Social Security numbers down, and no one can use them for an application to get a cell phone, to apply for a credit card, to apply for another apartment somewhere. Whatever it would be, the Social Security number is under lock and key.
Okay, great. And how long should I freeze the credit for? Well,
a credit freeze is permanent till you choose to either temporarily thaw it or to permanently thaw it. It is a procedure that requires more work on both of your time than anything else somebody would normally offer. There's something that's a joke the credit bureaus offer called a fraud alert, and it's a complete and total waste of your time to do one of those.
Okay, great.
So the credit freeze, if you want to see how it works and how to set it up, I've got a guide at Clark.com to do that. And what will happen is after you set up the electronic freeze with each of the bureaus, you'll be issued a secret code that is what allows you to temporarily thaw or permanently thaw that file. And do not lose that code no matter what.
Okay.
Because you lose that code, you want a pain in your life, that's a pain in your life.
Okay, good to know.
But you want, in order to close this loop and end that concern, that's how you get it done.
Awesome. That's what I'm going to do then.
All right. Best of luck to you, and hopefully nothing bad will ever come from this. Pat is with us on the Clank Howard Show. Hello, Pat.
Hi, Clark. How are you doing?
Great, thank you. You want to talk about your wife's credit?
That's correct. Over the last few years, my wife has come to me and said, if something happened to you, I would be kind of lost in terms of the family finances. And so I've started preparing some information for her and having a handbook, so to speak, for her of everything that goes on with our family finances and how to. And actually one of the things that is how to unfreeze our credit, because I, upon your advice, froze our credit a couple of years ago. And so I was putting that together, and I started thinking, what happens to our credit rating if I should predecease her? Would she, still have the benefit of what we as a couple have, done over the years? Or, how disproportionately does my impact being the sole breadwinner of the family impact the credit score if she later wanted to refinance a loan or something like that?
This is such a brilliant question. When my father died in the 1980s, in that era, women did not have any credit in their own names. And when my mom realized she had not a single form of credit that was hers, and it was a terribly difficult problem for her, because suddenly she had no ability to go travel and pay for things with credit or anything like that, because all the credit died when my father did. And so it's really important that your wife have credit in her own name. And every couple, each person in that couple should have their own credit. So is credit, you said you're the sole breadwinner?
The sole breadwinner. Now, we're co-borrowers on our mortgage.
That's great.
We're co-borrowers on a car loan. Both of our names are on the couple of credit cards that we have.
And do you know if she's an authorized user on those cards, or is she actually a co-owner of those, co-applicant on those credit cards?
I don't know the answer to that.
All right, that would be something that she should find out, and it would be to her advantage. In either case, she probably has a decent credit score from all this credit to apply for cards in her own name. And on an application, it will ask you for other sources of income. So even if she doesn't have job income, you can rely on household income. So while you're living, and let's hope you live a long time. We're talking about gloom stuff here, but she should apply for and establish a credit card or two in her own name now.
Okay.
Now, on the mortgage, you brought up a great point. So if you were to pass away and she at some point, let's say it becomes better for her to move somewhere else and buy a house somewhere else, if she has no income, it is difficult to qualify for a mortgage today. And so that could be a problem for her down the road. It also might be that if you were no longer with us, she might choose to go back to work or need to go to work, and then she'd have the source of income.
Right, and I'm trying to make sure that she would have adequate financial resources if something happened. And
so do you have a what's known as a level term life insurance policy?
I do, though I don't think I have, upon review, I don't think I have enough right now.
The back of the envelope answers you should have 10 times your annual income.
Thank you. Okay.
And that's as unscientific as you could be, but that's the water cooler kind of amount you should have.
I have about half of that.
Yeah, so it'd be good for you if you can medically underwrite to look at buying either a new level term policy to supplement what you have already, or to potentially replace what you have. Likely better to get a new one for the additional coverage.
Okay.
And by the way, the thing you're doing with doing the update, couples should do this, particularly in dual income couples where each has their own separate finances and then their merged finances. Many times couples keep that stuff so separate they never talk about it. There should be some document where each knows about what the other has, what the accounts are, and all that. This is something my wife and I do. We do it too often because I guess this is how I think, but we do it 4 times a year where we update our account information. Don't mess with people's Social Security. It makes it so easy for the scammers to come and eat up your wallet. It's today's Clark-rageous moment.
Scams, rip-offs, outrages. It's a Clark-rageous moment.
First reported by the Detroit Free Press, and then it came on our radar, and we started getting calls at our off-air center. There are scammers sending out solicitations telling senior citizens that there is a referendum on Social Security this fall, and they need your money to fight the end of Social Security being engineered by greedy Washington insiders. There is no referendum on the ballot this fall on eliminating Social Security. There is no need for you to send money to these crooks, because that's what they are. This is just a con. And if you are a senior citizen yourself and you are receiving these phony solicitations about the referendum on Social Security, throw them in the circular file. If you have elderly relatives or friends, make sure they know they are being targeted specifically for this. Once you give money to the crooks, they're going to be back again and again to try to get more money, and that is absolutely Clark-rageous. The reality is Social Security is not under threat in the current political environment. The opposite is actually what you'll probably hear from both major parties, raising Social Security benefits.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans proudly supports this podcast. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. It's fast, powerful, and completely online. You see, Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. Hate searching through stacks of old files and paperwork? Well, with Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button. It helps you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. Even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or tablet. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/save. That's quickenloans.com/SAVE. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
I'm so glad you're with us on the Clank Howard Show, where I want you to learn ideas to save more and spend less. And don't let anyone ever rip you off. You can follow me at facebook.com/Clank Howard. Our web address, clark.com, CLARK.com. You may wonder, why do I always spell it? Because there are people who are uneconomical and assume there's an E at the end of my name. What a waste of the alphabet that would be. You got a question for me? Clark.com/ask. A policeman stopped me the other day, not like you're thinking, not with the lights flashing and pulling me over for a ticket. No, he stopped me in a restaurant and said that he and his wife had been thinking about buying a vacation property as an investment and renting it out on Airbnb. And he wanted to know how I felt about that. And he was very puzzled by my answer about why I didn't think he should do that right now. And I want to tell you why I said that to the police officer and what I want you to be aware of when you are considering looking at an investment property. By the way, the police officer didn't like my answer that I'm about to tell you why I said that, so he wrote me a ticket. No. Anyway, here's the problem. Airbnb has been so remarkably disruptive that all across America, cities, resorts, communities, counties are imposing new rules and restrictions on being able to rent out a property for a transient use, meaning for less than a set period of time. condominium associations are imposing minimum rental periods that can be as long as 7 months in order for someone to be able to stay at your place that you have as an investment property. I had told you months ago about what was going on in Hawaii, where people had bought condominiums or homes in developments as investment properties, and then the homeowners or condominium associations were banning the use of any amenities at their developments from transient guests. That the amenities, the pool, anything like that, only reserved for property owners, specifically to take away any incentive for someone to want to rent one of these vacation condos or homes. The market has been so disrupted by Airbnb, where VRBO has been around a long time and was not the market disruptor that Airbnb is. But people using either are now running up against these restrictions. That what I'm recommending now is that if you are looking at an investment property in a city setting that you would have as an Airbnb rental or VRBO, or a mountain or beach or lake or whatever, that you run the numbers to make sure if rule restrictions came into place that ban transient renters, that you also be able to make money on that property with long-term tenants. If you can't see the numbers working for you with long-term tenants, if you're shut down from doing the short-term rentals, do not buy an investment property that you can't make work either way. This is not you might consider. This is a do not. A lot of times you'll hear me use more subtle language. You might consider, you might think about. This is a firm rule. This is something you need to hear me on, because if you buy a place and then you lose the ability for it to generate income, and the whole purpose of buying the place was to generate income and not for personal use, for vacation use, leisure use, wow, you've caused yourself a big problem and painted yourself into a big corner. Airbnb recognizes the threat, and unlike Uber, which goes to war with everybody, Airbnb is trying to reach accommodations with people, but there are situations that they're not going to be able to. Remember that. Derek is with us on the Clank Howard Show. Hi, Derek.
Hey, Clark. How are you today?
Great, thank you. And you want to talk about VRBO?
Yes, sir. My wife and I, we have 5 kids, and we were looking at going on vacation to a beach area. And we saw a place that we liked on VRBO. But my only question was, it gets great reviews, and the property looks great. But when I called the owner and spoke to him about, potential dates and things like that, he only accepts personal checks. He said he would take one check for the rental fee and then a separate check for the damage deposit, which he would either destroy after we left or send back to us. And I've never done VRBO before, so I didn't know if that was the standard mode of operating, because we saw some other places that did take credit cards, and I just personally would feel more secure with a credit card than giving somebody a check with my checking information on it.
Well, I'm not as concerned about that. I'm concerned about you giving a check to somebody and for whatever reason something goes wrong and you have no recourse at all.
Exactly.
In fact, VRBO's parent company, HomeAway, because of the frauds that have occurred with VRBO and HomeAway, not their fault, but because scammers figured out how to exploit their system,
okay,
they now have a option available for VRBO rentals where you pay through their system. and you probably saw that on some of the properties.
Okay.
And there's, in the case you pay through the HomeAway payment platform, there are guarantees you get and service protections and money protection, none of which exists if you send a check to the owner. Well, my feeling has been that owners should even offer an option where you can have a discount if you pay by check, but that the normal way of paying would be paying by credit card.
Okay.
Because I would just be too nervous, since you don't know the person, you don't know their place. I would let the opportunity pass if it were me looking at it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, and that's my, that was my main concern with just all the identity theft and everything else, And
I'm not worried about the identity theft angle or anything like that. I'm worried about you putting yourself in a position where you've sent money to somebody you don't know,
right?
And they run off with your money.
Okay.
That's a lot easier work than having to go commit identity theft against you. You're just giving them the money that they would have. I don't like that. Debbie's with us on the Clank Howard Show. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Clark. How are you today?
Great, thank you. You want to talk calendar with me right now?
Yes, I do. Some of my friends were talking with me in the last couple of weeks, and they've been seeing videos on YouTube, and they said that on 9/27/16, the banks are going to collapse, martial law is going to be imposed, they're going to be color-coding your mailboxes, people will be going to FEMA camps, etc., and I'm like, okay. So I just kind of did some experimenting, went out and looked, and I was like, I wasn't really sold on some of the videos I saw. And I said, the one person that'll have the answer will be Clank Howard. So that's why I submitted to you.
Well, this goes back to the 1800s.
Correct.
And there has been, because of something that happened not too long after the Civil War in the 1800s,
yep,
there's been this belief that some people have that September 27th marks the spot. Mm-hmm. That it's just a matter of time till there is this terrible disaster that would befall the world and everything would fall apart on that date. And there's websites that have been around for years that talk about in prior years how the world's going to basically come to an end as we know it on September 27th, and then September 27th comes in that year and everything's fine.
Right.
So I never worry about somebody's prediction about what's going to happen on a certain date. Do you remember back in 1999 how there were all these predictions about how planes were going to fall out of the sky and all kinds of things were going to go wrong at, was it 6 p.m. on December 31st, 1999, or 7 p.m. or something like that, because the Y2K thing was going to cause every computer in the world to crash and burn and all that.
Right.
And nothing happened, right?
Correct.
You know what did happen? I had to leave my family and work and do television and radio that night and on New Year's Day because it was such a big news story that the world was going to end.
Right.
And so for me, something did happen I was not happy about, but nothing else happened. So what happens is it's always the unexpected that causes problems in the world, not unexpected.
Okay.
So September 27th will come and go like any other day unless it just happens randomly to be the day that somebody does some mischief in the world.
Okay. I have friends closing out 401ks, in their, savings.
This same kind of thing happened, what we're talking about back in 99.
Right.
So not for me.
Okay.
If it makes them happy, they can do it. It's like the people that buy 2 years' supply of food because they think Armageddon's coming.
Or the zombies.
The zombie apocalypse.
That's right.
Well, that is happening on TV.
Yeah,
So.
well, yeah. I said, I looked at some of the things. I was just kind of in disbelief, and I said, I'll go to the one person that can say it all. So that's why I submitted my question. And thank you very much, sir, and have a great afternoon.
You too. And don't worry about the end of the world, because when it comes, we won't be able to predict that day. Andrew's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Andrew?
Hey, Clark, how are you?
Great, thank you. Andrew, there's a phrase I use when somebody's getting all worried about something, and it's that the only thing that's the end of the world is the end of the world.
Right, yep.
And we don't know when that's happening, but there's unrest in the world, and it leads to your question.
Right. My wife and I are thinking of going to Europe either later this year or next, and some of the best prices seem to be through an airline that has layovers and areas that have kind of been in the news lately.
Oh, go ahead and name it. Let's talk about this straight out.
Sure. Turkish Airlines through Istanbul.
And we know there was a terrible terrorist attack in Istanbul, and Istanbul is, Turkey has been through unrest. There was a coup attempt. There's a very authoritarian dictator who is taking more and more control of the country and squashing any free speech, any hint of democracy from the country. And I can understand the concern. Do you know, though, that Turkish Airlines is one of the best airlines in the world? Probably not one of the top 5, but it's definitely probably in the top 10 to 15 airlines in the world.
Right. The reviews seem to be pretty good on it, but I just wasn't sure.
As far as the safety, there has been to date nothing I'm aware of that has ever been targeted specifically at the airline. And even in a situation involving a terrorist attack at the airport, it did not involve areas where the planes are or the jetways or anything like that. I mean, I don't know that it's a level of risk that should make you book away from Turkish Airlines.
Okay, because, the prices were pretty good, probably for that very reason.
And, Turkish has always been an unusual combination. It's like the closest I can think of in our country would be the airline Virgin America that offers great fares and is considered to be the best airline in the country for service. Mm-hmm. I'd say Turkish has always been an airline that offered good fares and great service. And I'm more than comfortable to get on their airplane and fly and change planes in Istanbul. You'll have to make your own decision, though, Andrew. Gwen is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Gwen.
Hi, Clark. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you, Gwen. You want to talk Angie's List.
Angie's List. Yes, sir.
What's going on?
List. Well, I looked at Angie's List last year when I was traveling and at a friend's in Georgia, and I was looking for a dog groomer. Didn't find one by that. Went on, came back to Charleston, South Carolina area. Was looking for a new hairstylist as well as a dog groomer. And I went on to the free part of Angie's List, and I finally ended up subscribing for the $9.99. I ended up finding that it was absolutely worthless for me. All right, so what?
There are other people that swear by Angie's List too and love
I'm sure,
it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm sure that's good if you're looking at contractors and large, important things like that. But as far as, I think word of mouth is best when you're talking dog groomers, hairstylists. You know what I mean?
I think that's very true, although also controversial, because Angie's List has its controversy that they just settled this week a class action lawsuit that people have asked us about over the last few years. They just reached a deal, and Angie's List subscribers over a long period of time are going to receive some compensation as a result of the class action lawsuit about supposedly cooking the reviews. And Yelp, which many people feel cooks its reviews, is a better source for the types of services you're talking about, but has a cloud over it with people feeling that Yelp is manipulating results based on whether businesses by an ad schedule or not. So your idea of relying first primarily on word of mouth from friends, relatives, colleagues, neighbors, that's how we used to do these things, and you can make that work for you?
Right. Well, and I did write because of the Angie List settlement. I did receive that in the email, on
You've
Saturday.
Already gotten an email about it?
On Saturday, yes, sir. It's got a member number, ID number, a PIN number to go ahead and sign in on.
Huh.
It's, I've got it. In fact,
I'm stunned that you already have that, because it is like brand new that Angie's List has reached a settlement, and people will have a period of time to decide if they want to accept $5 or $10. I think that's all you get.
When you're going to buy a car, pricing information is great and necessary, but there's more to doing it than just the price. There's the actual buying experience. If you want to enjoy a better one, you should go to a True Car certified dealer. They're there to help you find the car that you want, and they're also what make True Car unique. With True Car, you can connect with a local certified dealer that you choose, so you can lock in a guaranteed savings off the MSRP and enjoy a totally better buying experience. And by better, they also mean faster. Over 2 million cars have already been sold to True Car users who have visited their True Car certified dealer. And there are over 11,000 True Car certified dealers nationwide, so it's probably pretty easy to find one near you. And check this, for a new car, average True Car users save $3,279 off MSRP. All right, so you're probably wondering, how do I do this? It's easy. Just go to TrueCar.com or, right there on your phone, download the True Car app. You can find the car you want, see the True Car pricing curve, which shows you what other people in your area paid for the same car, and that way you can know you're getting a good price and feel confident. Then you'll get a guaranteed savings certificate from the True Car certified dealer. Go to the dealer, and your guaranteed savings off MSRP will be honored, and you enjoy a quick, easy experience. How's that for car buying? So when you're ready to buy a new car, or even a used one, visit TrueCar.com or download the True Car app and enjoy the better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states.
I'm so glad you're with us on the Clank Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. You work hard for your money. It's great to be able to spend it efficiently. Coming up a half hour from now, I'm going to tell you what companies are doing the best job satisfying you, that taking that money of yours and spending it with them, you improve the odds significantly that you're going to get what you pay for. I'll also share with you the companies that do the worst job with your hard-earned money when you go to buy something from them. Our web address is clark.com. When you have a question, clark.com/ask. I have an update for you about a big story right now involving Costco wholesale. Costco's credit card issuer, Citibank, has another foul up on its hands. They sent notices to an undetermined number of people that their Costco Visa cards were canceled. And they were canceled because their Costco membership was no longer in place, that they had allowed their membership to expire. Now, Citibank was actually trying to communicate with people who had the Costco Visa card that if they had allowed their Costco membership to expire, their Citibank cards had gone stale. That's what they were trying to communicate. Unfortunately, they had a database error, and they also communicated to what they refer to as a small, I'm reading from their statement, small portion of Costco members, and that those people who had valid memberships received the communication in error. They go ahead and say, we quickly apprise them that their accounts are active and we apologize for any inconvenience. End of quote. So if you received one of those emails and you have a perfectly valid Costco membership, it would be wise for you to check to make sure your Visa card is still active and that you can use it as intended. And the comments that people are posting. People take their relationship with Costco so seriously. It's like they took their wedding vows to Costco from reading some of these comments that people take great umbrage to being told their Costco membership is not in place. Costco has a renewal rate on its memberships each year of, I think it's 92%, something like that. It is an intensely loyal membership base, and you don't mess with them, Citibank. So, again, if you got one of these notices, you need to follow up and make sure that everything is A-OK with your Citibank card and your ability to use it. Tom is with us on the Clank Howard Show. Hello, Tom.
Hello, Clark. How are you?
Great, thank you. You want to ask me one of the most difficult questions people ever ask me.
Oh, I do. It's the most difficult. I feel like I'm challenging you, and that must be hard to do.
Well, this one is one that used to be used to have a bunch of checklists involved in answering the question. Now it's an almost impossible question to answer, and you are calling about long-term care insurance, correct?
That's correct. That is correct.
Have you beaten your head against a wall yet, Tom, trying to shop for it?
That's why I sent the message to you this weekend that I did. I'm got my little white flag up, and I'm looking for some help. I am completely overwhelmed in indecision. It's a space I don't like to be in, and want to get to a decision on what direction I need to go, but am having trouble trying to get to that decision because everybody that I talk to wants to influence that decision.
Well, the reason the reason you're so confused, Tom.
Yes.
The reason you're so confused is that the market for long-term care insurance is broken.
Okay.
And a little bit of background, there used to be hundreds of companies, perhaps in the thousands of companies, that sold long-term care insurance. For people who don't know what long-term care insurance is, it pays for your stay in a nursing home or assisted living or provides care in your home in the event you're unable to handle certain activities of what's known as daily living. And long-term care insurance was sold in a very competitive market in the past, and then almost every company that sold long-term care insurance lost its shirt in it and got out of it. The ones that have remained have done what's called death spirals on their account holders, where they raise the premiums hundreds of % to try to force people out of having the long-term care insurance because the insurers messed up the actuarial tables on it, and the demand for it, the use of the policies turned out to be far, far greater and far, far larger dollar amounts than anybody expected in the insurance business. And people stayed alive longer, older, sicker than they planned for, and that's why everybody skedaddled.
Okay.
So today, what you see are policies available that have tight limitations on benefits. Typically, they'll pay for 3 years or 5 years, and they have very restrictive rules on how they will increase benefits over the years due to inflation. And the number of companies you have to look at has gone from hundreds or thousands to basically somewhere between 6 and 10.
Okay.
So what have you seen so far that has you confused?
Well, there's a couple of things. One is it from what I've been able to gather, there is the option to buy a standalone policy just for long-term care. And then I've also understand that there's this hybrid concept of a hybrid policy that involves a component of whole life insurance, which I'm whole life insurance that I'm not really a advocate for. I'm more of a term insurance guy, and then there's also some benefit in there for long-term care. And then I also recently learned a little bit about a QLAC, QLAC, which is a qualified plan that allows basically an annuity that allows you to bypass the minimum distributions for age 70.
Specifically for long-term care.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
if
here's the thing. Here's the thing. The alternatives you're seeing today are because insurers are trying to ring fence the risk. And so by saying you can buy a rider for a whole life insurance policy, or you can buy a modified version with a rider of an annuity, they are able to calculate with 100% certainty what their costs are going to be, where with a traditional long-term care policy, they cannot. So what they do is you basically fund the benefit that would be a living benefit in the case of a whole life policy instead of a death benefit. And in an annuity, you're paying for the rider that allows you to receive the money under a different formula. So the benefit of the alternatives you're looking at is you don't have to worry about a premium spiral, where with a traditional long-term care policy, the premiums are not guaranteed. With the whole life policy as an alternative, you buy a benefit of, are you looking at $250,000?
Yeah, I've asked for, for the annuity part of it, the initial investment to be either $50,000 or $100,000.
Now I'm talking about what would the benefit be for long-term care? Is it $250,000?
Yeah, it's right around $250,000.
That seems to be where the industry is. How old are you?
53.
53. You know, I'm going to tell you something crazy. I look at the target age to buy long-term care insurance being a little older than you are, late 50s, early 60s. There's always a risk that your health might deteriorate in the next, let's say, 5, 7, 10 years. But I think it would be a better bet with all the other demands for finance in your life that you wait to see how this industry shakes out rather than buy one of these plans where you're having to lay out a big amount of cash right now.
Okay.
So I think the best answer is for now you punt and don't buy any of the options because you have the benefit of time to wait. Scott's with us on the Clank Howard Show. Hello, Scott.
Hi, Clark. Feel like I'm talking to an old friend today. I've listened to you for so long.
Well, it's great to have you here, Scott. You want to talk about your son?
Yes.
What's going on with your son?
Well, he is taking a new job in the fall, and in December, he is going to be in Tempe, Arizona, doing some training for about 7 months. And he has been told that he needs to have transportation while he's down there. He won't be close to any of the public transportation links or sites. And I'm wondering what is the best suggestion or advice to give to him about being down there for that amount of time and needing an automobile.
Okay, so first of all, make sure he says it right. It's Tempe, because if you say Tempe, they know you're not from there.
Well, I'm from Wisconsin, so that must be how we say it up here.
Okay. So he's going to have so much fun making fun of you in December when it's so cold in Wisconsin and he's going to be in shirt sleeves in 70-degree weather.
He's not a dumb kid, is he?
No, not at all. So having transportation in a matter of months, there's only one idea I can think of because in Europe and Asia, there's a program where you can go to a car rental company and you can enter into a month-by-month lease on cars. We don't do that in the United States. So the next best alternative I have is to use one of these companies that get people out of car leases. Your son would have to credit qualify to take over someone's lease, but somebody may have 5 months left on a lease or 7 or 10 or whatever, and they need out, and they pay these brokers who get you into somebody's lease so they can get out of it. And you get a deal because you're getting a fixed cost that you know of for pretty much the time period that you need. And that would be a great solution for your son. One of the companies that does it is Swap a Lease. There's another one I'm trying to remember the name of. There are two big players in that business. And it's an area I've always been worried about problems, things blowing up on people, and we don't get complaints, even though I expect them.
Okay.
The other one's called Lease Trader.
Lease Trader.
And you'll see it does exactly what your son's looking for.
Well, that's excellent advice, because I have never heard of either one of them, and we have a little bit of time to be able to check this out now, so we'll be able to do some research and hopefully point him in the right direction about what to do when he's down in Tempe. Did I say it right?
You said it just right, and he's got to go climb Camelback Mountain, and he's got all kinds of fun things that he can do there, including when you go to visit, running up to the Grand Canyon.
Awesome, and he can leave his winter coat at home.
No, he'll need the winter coat at the Grand Canyon if he takes you in December.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Clark. I appreciate your help.
All right, have a great day, and I hope he has a wonderful time there. Hello, Brian. Thanks for joining us on the Clank Howard Show. Brian, you are buying a home, is that right?
That's right, Clark.
You excited?
I'm very excited. It's been a long process, but they're telling us that we're scheduled to close a month from today.
And where in the country are you buying a home?
It's in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, could you find a more difficult market to find a deal on a home in the United States right now than Denver?
Yeah, it has been very tough, and I think we finally found the right place.
Well, I am so glad, because people complain constantly in Denver about the difficulty of finding affordable homes.
Yeah, that's right. Prices have been skyrocketing.
How can I be of help to you in this quest for this home you love?
So part of this process, our builder has given us a $5,000 incentive if we use their preferred lender to get our initial mortgage with them. And the quote that he gave us is a little bit higher. It's not outrageously high, but he gave us a quote at 3.875. And I looked online a little bit, and the lowest rate I could find, I'm not even sure if we would qualify for that or if it's a real rate, is 3.1%. So just doing some quick math, kind of guessing on what closing costs would be, I figured that our break-even point for the $5,000 would be about 4 years, at which point it might make sense to have taken that deal. And over the life of the loan, if we go with a lower rate, I think in the end it would save us around $40,000, which sounds great to me.
Right. So you said 3.875. The average rate in the country for people with really top flight credit on 30-year mortgages right now is about 3 3.375. So you're talking about they want half a point more than market potentially. So the only way you really know, though, if that half a point would really come your way is to go to a mortgage broker and have the mortgage broker shop you. And who knows, then you may be able to go back to the builder's preferred lender and say, hey, I got this offer here at, 3.25 or, 3.875, I'm sorry. And what can you do for me?
Okay. Now, we've already spoken with him, and it doesn't sound like his rate is negotiable at all. So my question becomes, what I'm planning on doing is taking out the loan through him to get the deal closed, because I don't think I'll ever save $5,000 instantly like this again.
Sure.
And then at some point in the near future, shop around to refinance, because I imagine closing costs are going to be about $2,000, $2,500 to refinance down the road.
Closing costs all depend on, it varies so much from lender to lender. You can even set a target of doing what's known as a no closing cost refi, where you then in turn take a little bit higher rate. If you know it would take 4 years before you'd break even, taking the $5,000 up front, I think that's a perfectly acceptable, wise choice on your part.
Stay tuned for 60 seconds of AP News headlines right after this podcast.
I'm glad you've joined us on the Clank Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to save more and spend less, and don't let anybody ever rip you off. On the web, we serve you at clark.com. When you have a question for me, clark.com/ask. Half hour ago, I said I was going to tell you what industry that you spend your hard-earned money on has improved dramatically in making you happy. It's car manufacturers. The newest data from the American Customer Satisfaction Index, used to be part of the University of Michigan, now affiliated with the University of Michigan, finds that car companies are doing a great job serving you and making you happy. In the category of non-luxury brands, which they refer to as mass market, Honda now has the highest customer satisfaction number, way up from a year ago. Toyota in second place, followed by GMC trucks, Subaru, Chevrolet, and Ford. At the bottom of the heap, Volkswagen, Jeep, and Dodge, all getting very low, relatively speaking, customer satisfaction numbers. Of luxury vehicles, and by the way, this is the overall thing. This is how you feel about having this brand. So it doesn't necessarily trend with what J.D. Power would find about a car or Consumer Reports, which are all about vehicle quality and how often you got to deal with having it repaired or whatever. This is just that overall thing, whatever halo a brand has or does not have. Now, one of the oddest things in this year's Customer Satisfaction Index is, remember I said Honda has the highest customer satisfaction score. Honda's luxury division, Acura, has the lowest customer satisfaction score. So who gets the highest among luxury nameplates? Lincoln, followed by BMW, Infiniti, Lexus, which used to be number one, is now tied for third with Infiniti, Audi, and then not getting particularly great scores, Acura, which I mentioned, Cadillac, and Mercedes. And even with what I just said, not getting the greatest score, that's only relative to other cars, because automakers do a great job. They don't do a good job. They do a great job. The car business worldwide and here in the United States is intensely competitive. The quality of a vehicle, I'll tell you, I rent cars almost every week as I travel for the show. And I will tell you that I get an economy car, a compact car, a midsize, a full-size car, any car, rental fleet cars, and almost without exception, they are great. They've got all kinds of gizmos on them that make it a very pleasant drive. What you get for your dollar buying a car today, and when I say car, I mean vehicle. It could be SUV, crossover, blah, blah, blah. They are excellent. It is very rare that you will get a real lemon or turkey of a vehicle. And I think back even as recently as 10 years ago, when I'd rent a car, it'd be like, oh, no, not one of those again. I mean, there were so many bad cars for sale. And that's just not true anymore. In fact, the car business is building such good product now that this has never happened. Of all industries rated by the American Customer Satisfaction Index, the car industry ties for the highest score of customer satisfaction of any industry, tied with television manufacturers. And that makes sense because TVs have become unbelievably reliable. You can buy the cheapest off-brand TV, and odds are it's going to perform very well for you. Credit unions that were always the highest rated in the Customer Satisfaction Index have not fallen. It's just these other two have passed by them, and now credit unions are in third place behind cars and TVs. Banks, as you might expect, come way, way, way down a huge service difference between credit unions that are owned by their members and banks, which get up each day trying to figure out, the big banks, how to rip off their customers. Totally different in the satisfaction. But there are two industries that bring up the rear of the American Customer Satisfaction Index. These two will surprise no one. The lowest score of any industry rated by the American Customer Satisfaction Index in the last year are the people you buy home internet from. By a whisker, pay TV came in second worst. Industries that are still very much in need of a customer service pickup, still failing to provide an experience that will make their customers happy. Brian is with us on the Clank Howard Show. Hi, Brian.
How's it going?
Great, thank you. But you're nervous about something. Tell me.
Yes. There's a very good possibility I could get laid off in the next few weeks. I work in the energy sector, and I'm kind of nervous what to do with our home. We bought it about 2.5 years ago for $118,000. We probably owe $109,000 left on the mortgage. And my wife and I have had thoughts as to whether we should try to sell it or try to rent it to recoup or get some equity in the house and then eventually sell it in the future.
Are you in the oil business or natural gas?
I work for one of the large E&P companies.
Okay. So
oil and gas, yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of distress, obviously, as you know, has been playing out almost in slow motion with people, getting laid off, companies filing for bankruptcy. And the only hope is that the cost of a barrel of oil, as you probably follow closely, has been rising. Last trade for a barrel of oil, $48 a barrel, which is a significant improvement from where it was earlier this year. But a lot of the companies in distress need a price per barrel of somewhere in the low 50s to end up not so unhealthy anymore. I won't say healthy. So it is a reasonable concern you should have. But I don't know that it means you should turn right around and sell your home. What is your plan next? Because your house payment is probably very reasonable.
Yes, $900 or so a month. I do have a job in line where it's a very good possibility where I'd take it whether I got laid off or not, just because of location and just career growth. So whether I get laid off or not, we're still faced with more than likely we're going to have to sell or rent out our house in the next 3 months.
Well, if it ends up in a situation where you have to reload somewhere else in the country, how far away will you be from where you are now?
10-hour drive. That.
Okay. You know why I wanted to know that?
Yeah.
Because renting a property from 10 hours away is very, very difficult, if not impossible, and then you're left with hiring a property manager.
Mm-hmm.
So to cover that $900 a month, you're going to have to charge typically 10% more than that. What are rents right now in the marketplace where you are? What do you think you could get for your property if you did have to rent it out?
We are currently in the best elementary school district in town. So I'd say houses similar size, because we're at about 1,900 square feet, probably $1,100 to $1,200 a month.
So renting it, if that became necessary, is not a disaster, because even with what you would pay a property manager to manage, you would still be cash flow neutral.
Mm-hmm.
I'm concerned about you trying to sell right now, because with the layoffs going on in the oil and gas industry, there's a change in the balance on, with the buyers now having a lot more leverage than they had even just months ago.
And that's kind of what I anticipate, because the town I live in, it's definitely, you can figure out Oklahoma, it's a relatively small town that has a very thick history in oil and gas.
Right, exactly. And goes through booms and busts.
Yes.
So that's why I would say that potentially the highest priority would be if it becomes necessary to rent it. Because this does go in cycles. And at a later time, it may be more advantageous to sell than now. You could kind of split the difference and put the house on the market, test it for, let's say, 12 weeks. And if it just doesn't move at all, there's no nibbles on it, it just looks like it's not going to happen, then give up at that point and turn it into a rental property.
Well, you're confirming all my thoughts. Thank you, Clark.
But the thing that you said that I felt the best about is that you have a good, reasonable prospect for a new job, and that's great news, and I hope that does pan out for you, Brian. Aaron is with us on the Clank Howard Show. Hello, Aaron.
Hey, Clark. How you doing, man?
Great, thank you. Happy anniversary.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. It's not quite the anniversary yet, but we're definitely in the planning stages coming up in November.
And how many years are you at?
Well, we're at the big number 10. So what I've done for previous anniversaries, I've probably set the bar just high enough to ensure there might be another one the next year. So I want to go a little bit beyond that this year.
What are you thinking?
We're actually thinking about taking a nice trip somewhere. Haven't really decided exactly where, but we were considering some locations, maybe in the Caribbean or Costa Rica. We were looking at maybe doing an all-inclusive resort type vacation, but not really sure where to start.
What month of the year would you take the anniversary trip?
It would be in early November.
Oh, you are a genius. Does your wife say that? Does she know you're a genius?
Well, if she does, she doesn't like to tell me that too often, so it's keeping me from getting too big of a head. So,
because when you look at November for Fun in the Sun, Costa Rica, Caribbean, you are off season.
That's what I like to hear.
So your timing is ideal, and being able to find an all-inclusive that would be a reasonable price should not be a terribly difficult thing, doing that trip in early November.
Okay, now would you recommend going straight to a resort to book the logistics, or going through a travel agent? Or this?
I think a travel agent, a leisure-oriented travel agent. Travel agents had pretty much become almost extinct, and they've come back to life because of this need that people have to have. You only got so much vacation. You only have this 10th anniversary once. You want to make sure it's right. And going to somebody who's experienced, knows the places, can see to it that as much as they can control, that they get you to a place that's going to be a good experience, I think is worth it.
Right, great. So kind of buy down some of that risk associated with me planning this big event. So
yeah, unless you travel all the time, I think that, and you do a lot of this kind of thing, it's hard to beat that travel agent and his or her knowledge.
Well, great. I appreciate that, Clark.
And by the way, with November, one thing to be mindful of is staying out of what's referred to as the hurricane belt. We've had several years that we have avoided, all these catastrophic hurricanes that pop up from time to time during season. And November, you're still on the edge of hurricane season. And I would be mindful of that and where you choose.
Okay, will do. I'll keep that in consideration.
Okay, and again, congratulations to you on 10 years.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Good day. And Joel, can we sneak in a quick Ask Clark?
Yeah, Clark, we can. Billy wrote in, he says, what's the cheapest long-term care insurance I should be looking for?
Wow, think how many questions lately we've had about long-term care insurance. Cheap and long-term care do not go together right now. I don't have a great recommendation on long-term care insurance. It is a broken market at this time, and what you want to look for is the level of benefit you receive per day in long-term care, and then what the inflation adjustment is on it as well. David, it's great to have you here on the Clark Howard Show. You're trying to help your wife out.
Thank you for taking my call.
Certainly.
My wife was employed like 20 years ago, and she was in a traditional pension plan at the time. So she spent 9 years at that employer. And we just got the notice that the employer is offering to buy out the pension for a lump sum. So we're trying to determine what's the best way to go, because I've read different things about it.
If the company seems to be in good financial shape, she will be generally significantly better off turning down that offer for the lump sum, because the amount that they will pay her per month for the rest of her life, or if she elects the option of paying her and then if you outlive her, then paying you for the remainder of your life too, which would give her a lower amount each month, generates much more income for her than she would ever be able to generate from that lump sum.
Okay.
So the only reason you don't take the payout and you go for the lump sum is if you have a reasonable suspicion based on is it a publicly traded company?
Yes.
If it's a well-known company, publicly traded, and there's just all kinds of danger signs that they're in financial trouble,
right,
then you want the lump sum. Any other circumstance, though, I don't know of an exception, you want to have them pay the monthly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure, and best, isn't that just like found money?
Well, yeah.
From forever ago, having worked somewhere 9 years, and suddenly it's like Santa handing out gifts with that long-forgotten pension. That's a neat thing. Best to you.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Howard Podcast. Download new episodes every Monday through Friday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this.
AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson.
I feel happy about my new hands, and I don't feel different.
9-year-old Zion Harvey, the youngest double hand transplant patient in the country, talked to reporters today at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Zion said he enjoys being able to do things with his transplanted hands, and the surgeon who headed the transplant team says he couldn't have had a better patient.
I like now that I can throw a football further than when I didn't have hands.
I've never seen him scream or complain of pain. I've never seen him not want to do his therapy. He's just a remarkable human being, let alone child or adult.
Dr. Scott Levins says Zion coped better than some adults would have. AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson.